All right, welcome to class, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're jumping straight into what I like to call the essential driver's ed course for options trading. Listen, if you've ever felt completely intimidated by options, today is the day we finally demystify the mathematical forces behind option pricing. We're going to make this visual, structured, and honestly, surprisingly intuitive. Let's start with a really frustrating scenario that virtually every single beginner trader faces. You do your homework, you study the charts, and you perfectly predict a stock's massive rally. You nailed it. But then you pull up your account and that cheap out-of-the-money option you bought, it barely budged. You're just left sitting there scratching your head, wondering, wait, what just happened?
Well, the answer to that mystery is staring right at you. It's in these numbers right here on the option chain. Now, what's kind of wild is that these metrics, we call them the Greeks, are derived from these incredibly complex, heavy-duty academic models like Black-Scholes and Cox-Rubinstein. But here's the great news and really what you should take away from this. As a retail investor, you absolutely do not need a PhD in advanced math to use them. As a basic rule of thumb, you really only need to focus on the first two decimal places on your screen to get a solid grasp of your risk and potential reward.
Okay, here is our agenda for today's explainer. 1. Meet the Greeks. 2. Delta, your option speed. 3. Gamma, the accelerator. 4. Theta, the ticking clock. 5. Vega, forecasting market weather. And 6. Using Greeks to trade.
Section 1. Meet the Greeks, the math behind the moves. Section 2. Delta, your option speed.
So I really want you to think of delta exactly like the speedometer on your car. Simply put, delta measures how much an option price is expected to change when the underlying stock moves by exactly one single dollar. So if you look at your screen and your option has a delta of, say, 0.40, the premium should increase by roughly 40 cents for every single dollar the underlying stock moves up. This is exactly why that cheap out-of-the-money option we talked about earlier didn't move for you. If it has a delta near zero, the stock could move $3 and you might not make a single penny.
But here's the thing, delta isn't just about speed. It also serves as this brilliantly simple diagnostic tool for probabilities. A 25 delta? That literally means scratch that, it means there's roughly a 25% chance that your option is going to finish in the money at expiration.
And if we look at the-money options, they typically hover right around a 50 delta, which, if you think about it, essentially represents a 50-50 coin toss of expiring profitably. It makes perfect sense, right? You're sitting exactly on the starting line.
Now watch how this builds as the trade goes your way. As the stock continues to rise in your favor, your delta is not just sitting still. It dynamically increases, maybe revving all the way up to 80, which signals to you in real time that you now have an 80% probability of finishing in the money.
Okay, before we put the car in park and move off our speedometer, grab a notebook and jot down this quick cheat sheet. Remember, calls have a positive delta scaling between 0 and 1. Puts have a negative delta between 0 and -1. The absolute most important takeaway here is that delta is never a constant number. It's always shifting as the stock shifts. Oh, and fun insider tip, experienced traders actually use delta as a hedge ratio to figure out exactly how many shares of a stock they need to buy or sell to stay completely market neutral.
Section 3. Gamma, the accelerator.
If delta is your cruising speed, gamma is what happens when you slam your foot right on the gas pedal. Gamma measures the rate at which your delta changes when that underlying stock moves by $1. So let's say a $1 stock move causes your delta to accelerate from 0.55 up to 0.60. That difference? 0.05. That means your gamma is 5. It's telling you exactly how fast your speed is increasing.
Gamma is incredibly powerful, for sure. But you have to respect it because it is a massive double-edged sword. It acts as an alert for accelerating gains, which is totally fantastic when you're right. But it can also cause sudden exploding losses near expiration. Think about the final seconds before an option expires. Gamma is at its absolute peak for at-the-money options, and your delta can violently swing back and forth from 0 to 100 with literally just a 2-cent move in the stock. That, my friends, is the very definition of exploding risk.
Section 4. Theta, the ticking clock.
Now that we've got our speed and acceleration dialed in, we have to look at the external forces that are actively eroding your investment. Theta measures exactly how much your option decreases in time value in one single day. You see, options are what we call wasting assets. It's like holding a melting ice cube. And here is why this is absolutely crucial to understand. This time decay, it's not some smooth, linear, fixed amount every day. The theta erosion accelerates dramatically in the final 30 days of an option's life. It is actively stripping away your chances for the stock to rally. If you hold an out-of-the-money option too long, theta is the silent killer of your premium.
Section 5. Vega. Forecasting market weather. Quick fun fact before we dive into this one. Vega isn't even a real letter in the Greek alphabet. I know, right? But it is absolutely essential for understanding the intense impact of market volatility. To predict this market weather, you have to separate what has mathematically already happened, that's historical volatility, basically looking in the rearview mirror, from implied volatility. Implied volatility is looking out the windshield. It's the market's real-time feeling of urgency and panic. It's the expectation driving up option premiums right now, before a major event even happens.
To truly wrap your head around implied volatility, just imagine this scenario. You check your weather app and it says it's going to be perfectly sunny. But you look out your window and the entire marketplace is implying a massive storm is coming because every single person is carrying an umbrella. Naturally, that panic drives up the price of umbrellas, right? Trading options is essentially pitting your cool, calculated judgment against the marketplace's frenzied expectations.
Mathematically speaking, Vega measures the exact amount an option price changes for every 1% change in that implied volatility. Market makers monitor Vega like hawks. Why? Because it measures their direct risk exposure to sudden, large panics or massive surges of excitement in the market that aggressively pump up option premiums. And this happens completely regardless of what the underlying stock price is actually doing at that moment.
Section 6. Using Greeks to trade.
So class, we have covered a ton of ground today. How do we combine speed, acceleration, time, and weather into a coherent trading strategy without getting completely bogged down by the math? The key takeaway is this. You don't need to spend hours calculating these formulas by hand. Just use the Greeks as your vital diagnostic tools. Glance at them before you initiate a position so you avoid throwing your hard-earned money away on zero delta long-shot bets. But please always remember this. While these models are absolutely brilliant for normal market conditions, when an extreme news event hits, basic supply, demand, and raw human emotion will completely override the most sophisticated math formulas in the world. Don't get so obsessed with the Greeks that you lose sight of the ultimate goal, which is making money.
As you graduate from this masterclass and get ready to look at your screens for your very next trade, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. Are you simply trying to predict where the stock will go, or are you finally utilizing the Greeks to trade how fast, how volatile, and how aggressively it gets there? Understanding that fundamental difference, that is exactly what separates the gamblers from the true option traders. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.